Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi. Are you back from, you are in London now, from New York to London, the life of an international correspondent.
Good morning, Adefemi.
Morning, Adefemi.
Morning.
This is it. Good morning, Dr. Ruben. Good morning, Ion. Good morning, Rufai. Yes, I am in London, just on my way back to you guys in Lagos. I'll be with you shortly. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all had a great weekend. But let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, 2 months after they were first implemented, the United States has now announced that it is reversing visa restrictions that it had put on Ghana. Now, this now means that Ghanaian citizens have gone back to being allowed the virtue of 5-year visa validity with multiple entries. Now, this happened off the back of Ghana accepting third-party deportees earlier this month. Now, Ghana had clarified that yes, it was taking deportees, but they were taking only West African nationals because under the umbrella of ECOWAS, these nationals would be free to travel to their home countries. Now, what we are seeing now is that at the recently concluded United Nations General Assembly, the Ghanaian Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto did meet with the US delegation, and it was thereafter that we're hearing that now Ghana no longer is affected by these visa restrictions. So that has fed, to some extent, unconfirmed reports that Ghana has agreed to become the US administration's, the Trump administration's deportation hub in West Africa, joining other African countries in doing the same. Now, Ghana, through its foreign minister, has denied that it has accepted to take even more deportees, that he says that there's no real untoward agreement happening between Ghana and the United States. But many people are looking at this with a striking eye, especially since if we move back over to Nigeria now, when Nigeria was offered the opportunity to take in third-party deportees from the United States, including criminals from Venezuela, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Duga, staunchly refused and said that this is not something that Nigeria was prepared to do. And as we can see, as it stands, Nigeria still has these tight visa restrictions where it pertains to the United States. Now, I did see the Nigerian foreign minister at the United Nations General Assembly, and I did get the opportunity to ask him a few questions. One of them was his decision to deny US third-party deportees, whether or not he regrets that decision, especially in the light of what we are seeing in Ghana. Let's take a listen to what the ambassador had to say.
In the case of Nigeria, we're a nation of 230 million people. We have enough people that are unemployed, young people in our country that are looking for jobs. How much more to start taking third country nationals into Nigeria? And they're clearly being rejected by other countries. We want to first and foremost address the concerns, the needs of Nigerians. We have Nigerians that are refugees of the Boko Haram crisis, some that may still even be in Cameroon. So let us solve those problems first. Let us return Nigerians that want to come home first before we get forced to accept others. So it's a no-brainer for Nigeria.
Thank you. Well, you've heard what to say. That's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and clearly he does not have any regrets. He still stands behind his decision to protect Nigeria's land and borders and people from the imminent dumping, really, of third-party criminals and deportees from the United States. So he is very clear that this is not a game that Nigeria wants to play. That being said, the foreign minister did hold a series of meetings with lots of different countries, including the United States. We do have pictures of his meetings with the Deputy Secretary of State over in the United States, Christopher Landau, on the margins of the UN General Assembly. Both men did have a discussion with their respective delegates, talking about strengthening bilateral economic relations and cooperation, addressing illegal immigration, which is very interesting, and also looking at promoting religious freedom and enhancing security. So clearly we are seeing that there is some conversations that do loosely relate to immigration, and it will be interesting to see whether or not we will see a change in this visa restrictions on Nigeria in the near future. Now, moving on to another story, we're still talking visas, and we do know that, again, off the back of the United Nations General Assembly, the United States has decided to revoke the visa of the Colombian President Gustavo Petro. And that is off the back of very offensive comments, according to the United States government, that he made addressing a crowd in New York while he was participating in the General Assembly. He told the US military to disobey Donald Trump's orders and not turn their guns onto the innocent people. This was him calling for the United States to really back away from its involvement and support of Israel with its ongoing war in Gaza. And this was him trying to defend the Palestinian people. This is clearly something that was not taken lightly by the US government, who feel as though his comments could incite negative ramifications for the US military, for the United States national security. And that is why it has elected to revoke his visa. When the news first, whether or not the Colombian president had already made his way out of the United States and onwards to his home country, Colombia, it is believed that he has now arrived in Colombia, though there is a little uncertainty about that. But it just shows that we are seeing in real life, really, the importance of immigration and how it's severely impacting relations the United States have with different countries, not just on the African continent, as we're seeing with Nigeria, Malawi, Ghana, and Eswatini, but also clearly in Colombia. And we are seeing the weaponization of visa access to the United States. Just at the General Assembly, we did see that Mahmoud Abbas wasn't even given a visa at all. We saw that the Brazilian health minister was giving severe restrictions when he was granted a visa, said that he could only be at his hotel or the United Nations General Assembly. That's why he elected not to come at all. So we are seeing more and more examples of the Trump administration using visas as a weapon. And finally, we are stepping away from talking about visas, but this time looking at Iran. Now, the United Nations has elected to impose sanctions on Iran because it feels as though 10 years after the implementation of the Iran nuclear agreement, the joint cooperation, the Iran nuclear deal, essentially, the JCPOA, that they believe that Iran has not conform to the restrictions when it comes to its nuclear capabilities. We are seeing reports, they say, of Iran continuing to put effort into nuclear enrichments, uranium enrichments, and that's why they've elected to slap sanctions on Iran. This is difficult for Iran because it feels as though it is only just trying to walk after years of sanctions on them. This is obviously a country that has had the recent feud with the United States and Israel that saw the bombing of nuclear sites within its country. Seeing that again, after fighting really one war, one conflict on one front, now it has to deal with international sanctions as confirmed by the United Nations. Now, Iran have come out to say that, listen, these sanctions, in its opinion, are illegal, and has implored the international community to continue trading and dealing with Iran as though these sanctions aren't in place. But we are seeing that the world has again shifted its stance when it comes to Iran and its nuclear capabilities. Those are your stories from around the world. Love to hear your thoughts. Before we head over to your conversation, I do actually want to quickly take our papers, just in the interest of time, so that we can have a comprehensive conversation about all of this. But I am very eager to hear what you have to say. Firstly, let's take a look at the front page of This Day. You've already discussed this, but we do know that This Day leads with former Minister of Information and Orientation, Professor Jerry Ghana, disclosing that former President Goodluck Jonathan will contest in the 2027 presidential election on the platform of the Democratic Party, the PDP. Ghana also said that Nigerians now know the difference between Buhari and Tinubu and want Jonathan back. Now, This Day's picture headline does show Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun on his investment drive all the way in China. To the New Telegraph, it does lead with the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, declaring a strike, protesting the dismissal of over 800 workers at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Now, following that, gas suppliers have been instructed or have informed generating companies, Gencos, to halt gas supply to thermal power plants. This is very scary because thermal plants currently produce the bulk of Nigeria's electricity, and without gas supply, thermal plants cannot operate, putting severe pressure on hydroelectric plants, which are insufficient alone to meet national demand. Meanwhile, the Daily Trust and the Leadership newspaper lead with the federal government stepping in its attempt to resolve this dispute between the union and the Dangote refinery. On the same topic, The Guardian looks at the risks associated with this strike if it does continue, which include a 14.7 billion naira in daily losses. Finally, the Vanguard has the federal government totally dismissing claims of genocide against Christians in Nigeria. Those are your papers. I'd love to hear your thoughts on both the World Brief and any Nigerian stories. Go ahead.
Real quickly, Femi, it is obvious what happens in America. When Trump does not agree with you, doesn't believe in you, he claims he supports free speech, but when he doesn't agree with you, he deports you. Just like they've beaten Ghana into a particular corner, and Ghana now accepts deportees, and because of that, Ghana is getting 5 years. I stand with the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister, because that's the right thing to do. We are a sovereign nation. We can't be pandering all the time to a certain leader. Because this is not even a reflection of America. America is divided along lines. But this is a tenured leader that has 4 years. So we can't be pandering to him, because he will come and he will go someday. But the principle of what you accept because you want to pander to him will haunt you for the rest of your life. So kudos, Minister Tuga, and kudos the Nigerian government. And kudos President Tinubu on this. Because we need to stand tall. We all know a man is executing a right-wing agenda as written in Project 2025. Anything against you, you stifle voices. Just like they tried stifling the voices of people that protested against the heinous crimes going on in Palestine. Just like he tried stifling the voice of Harvard and other voices out there. Somebody should tell Donald J. Trump that at best he's a New York realtor and he's not God. And he's the president of America temporarily for the next 4 years. And after him, there will be other presidents.
All right. Okay, so put Nigeria first. I think that was the sum total of, what you can summarize Ambassador Yusuf Tuga's comments there, Nigeria's response to whether or not it would accept to receive deportees from the United States of America. If other countries are putting their countries first, I'm glad that Nigeria is rising up to that task in the face of, in this case, visa sanctions or visa reductions from the United States of America. This then goes back to the reason that was given in July when these new visa restrictions were announced to 4 African countries, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, and Cameroon. And where they said that the US had said the reason for this restriction was visa reciprocity realignment. If this is the case, then the fact that we're accepting or not accepting deportees does not hold water. And if you recall, at the time, Mr. Bayo Ononuga had come out to say that it doesn't make sense because Nigeria doesn't give U.S. applicants for Nigerian visas, short-term visas such as this. So that reason doesn't hold water, and now it's coming to light that indeed it had nothing to do with that, more to do with whether or not Nigeria and these other countries were willing to to bargain with the United States of America. I like the explanation given by Ambassador Tuga. It's not just because we don't want to, but we are also mindful of the fact that we have our own issues. We cannot, while dealing with our own issues or problems, take on the responsibility of other governments. I think that is excellent and in point. And while saying that, let us not rest on that alone. Let us now begin to fix our own challenges, fix our own issues, so that the U.S. visa will not be so attractive that it will be used as punitive measures for African countries like Nigeria and Ghana. I think it's important for us more than ever for Africa to rise up. We cannot continue to be at the beck and call of America or other Western nations, so that when they say jump, we're like, how high? Because we want to visit or get their visas. Okay, good for the Ghanaians, I would say. Every country has the right to make its own sovereign choices in terms of international relations. So Ghana is saying we're not getting anything from this. That was what they said initially when they got the first batch of 14 third country deportees, West Africans. They said they could only take West Africans. About 8 or 10 of those have been sent to Togo. Another 4 have been sent to their country. Another 4 is in court, challenging the right of Ghana
to accept them and put them under difficult conditions. Also, we understand that Ghana is taking another set of 14 that are on their way or they've already arrived. Now, whatever Ghana says is Ghana's choice. I think Nigeria, as a responsible sovereign country, has a right to also make its own choices. And we should not allow our foreign policy process to be determined by blackmail, whether it is Trumpian blackmail or American blackmail. And in this regard, we stand with the Nigerian government, we stand with Minister Tuga, saying that, look, we don't want to get involved in their problem. 3 months visa, they say we can only get, and we won't get 5 years. Fine. Trump won't be there forever. After Trump, there will be another American president. Now, quickly, as for Gustavo Petro, when Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president, spoke on Tuesday, he was anti-American. He referred to the role of America in Gaza as obnoxious. He condemned the United States and Trump administration. He accused both of killing democracy and promoting authoritarianism in the world. That was on Tuesday. On Thursday, he carried a megaphone and joined a pro-Palestine protest. And also at that forum, he condemned America and he said American soldiers should disobey Trump. American soldiers should attack fascists. American soldiers should fight for humanity. Now, having done that on the American soil, they now said his visa has been revoked. He's back in Bogota, and he says he doesn't care, and that he's happy to be a free citizen of the world. Anyway, there has been no love lost between Colombia and the United States. You recall that President Petro refused to allow deportees back to Colombia, and then in July, both countries, recalled their ambassadors. So it's not as if they have friends. And it's not the first Colombian president whose visa will be revoked. It happened to Ernesto Sampras in, was it 1916 or thereabouts? And so, Sampras was accused of association with the Cali drug cartel. And now this time, Petro is also saying, we are not your friends and we don't care. So, but you put your finger on it when you talked about the weaponization of visa approvals as a tool of diplomacy. But it's a violation of the spirit of the United Nations, because United Nations is supposed to be a free zone for people to be admitted. They did it to Mahmoud Abbas, but they allowed Netanyahu to enter the United States. The same Netanyahu that had to do a detour to avoid other countries in Europe, and diplomats, they walked out on him. He was addressing only his wife, more or less, in the hall. Finally, as for Iran has been under international sanctions since 1979. In 2006, there was Resolution 1737. In 2015, the P5+1 agreed on a framework, to monitor uranium enrichment and all of that. It's 10 years after. It was 10 years limit that they gave, so it's not surprising that they have reimposed sanctions on Iran. But Iran continues to claim innocence, to insist that, the uranium enrichment is for agriculture, is for electricity, is for civilian purposes. Of course, that the US could not reach an agreement recently with Iran. And, this is where we are. Again, America's meddlesomeness trying to influence, the process. But in this case, it's the E3, UK, Germany, and France, who intervened to push this matter. But that's where we are. But it also, again, has implications for world peace. Thank you very much, Adefemi.